Hey guys, I'm TheJoaquiGamer of KJC Esports and welcome to Juan Tap. So for the first time viewers out there, the goal of this show is to give you guys, the viewers, a clear shot of the people that make up the Philippine Valorant esports scene. So from pros, casters, production, and many more, because without these people, there would be no scene. So now, if this is your first time, and we actually have previous episodes, you can't catch the show live today. You can drop by our YouTube channel as we upload our full VODs there. And if you just want to watch highlights of the shows of Juan Tap, you can just check out our other socials: Twitter, Facebook, and or Instagram. So in the age of the pandemic, a lot of tournaments, of LAN tournaments, had to be stopped. But I think it was a prime time for the Philippines that Valorant was introduced during the pandemic, as we are a large country. And with the age of online tournaments, it allowed different people all across the country to compete in major tournaments and participate in VCTPH, something that we may not be able to see if it was LAN. So one of those platforms and sites that help the online tournaments is MogulGG. And our guest today works in MogulGG, a position or job that I'm not actually familiar with myself, which is business development. So let's learn more about MogulGG and her role in MogulGG. Let's welcome Larcey. So once again, for those that may not know who you are, may you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Larcey. So I am a partnerships lead / account manager working in the business development side of Mogul.gg.
Mm-hmm. So before we actually go towards your work in Mogul.gg, how did your journey in esports actually begin? Was it directly into business dev or?
No, actually. So I started as a volunteer. So it's a lot like everyone else's beginning stories. I volunteered for an esports website, writing articles about Dota 2, general esports topics. So I at the time I was super into Dota 2. So I would write about it. I would interview people. I would really watch closely the tournament scene. And then from there, another opportunity came in, and this time it was to manage my own team for a website company called Game Geek. And then Game Geek, we did a whole bunch of things. We did videos, we did articles, we did special content, we managed social media, we followed any esports tournaments, and we would announce scores and all that stuff. So we would be giving updates to the people who want to follow the esports scene. And then from there, another opportunity came in, and this time it was to work on partnerships for Mogul.gg. So at that time, it was still Mogul Arena. Being a tournament platform, they wanted to expand their tournaments into Southeast Asia, and at that time I had a lot of contacts, particularly in the Philippines, and so that's where it started, getting into partnerships and sort of thinking about opportunities to connect with the players, and really thinking about what they want and what else we can do to improve. So that's really a lot of what that's about, and that's always something that I've always enjoyed doing, building relationships with different community managers and influencers and game publishers. So there's a lot that we can explore in that space, and not necessarily being an influencer or being a streamer or a professional gamer.
Was it Dota 2 that actually got were you already inclined to video games before Dota 2, or was it Dota 2 that really started your video game journey?
Not really. So I used to play a lot when I was a kid, MMO RPGs, and then I would play, Gunbound. I would play all sorts of different games, and but yeah, at that time, I moved to the States from the Philippines. And so when I moved, I got a little bit, like actually a lot homesick. And so when I got homesick, it was at that time when like Dota 2 was like getting really, really big. And so I was like, oh, that sounds like a really good game. You know, I'm familiar with it because a lot of my friends play it already. But it was an opportunity for me to kind of connect with people and meet new friends and sort of cure my homesickness. So it felt to me like it never left.
So your love for Dota, you volunteered to write. What's your, if I ask, what's your educational background? Was this just like volunteering because you really love the game and wanted to write about it, or did you have some journalistic skills already at hand?
No, I've been writing since I was little. You know, I would start with like diaries, and then I would write my thoughts into like blogs. I didn't have like a journalism or like an English background, but I did study business management, which is a lot like the work I'm doing for Mogul now. But yeah, like it was more of a passion project for me. Like I really wanted to write, and I wanted to like use writing as a way to connect to people, and so that sort of became the reason why I got into it. Like, of course, getting into esports in the beginning, I never really thought that this would end up becoming my career. And so now, like looking back, it's just like I don't know what happened, you know, like I just kind of stumbled into it.
Did you think that esports was gonna get big when you started, you know, doing your passion project? Did you think, okay, if I do this now, I won't regret it, and I know this is going to lead somewhere? Or was this like, you know, just really passion project? I don't care if it gets big. I just want to really do this.
I'm not gonna lie, you know, like I'm one of the people who saw the potential in esports, you know, like at that time people were doing volunteer jobs, and they were, you know, like looking at esports as a hobby or, you know, something that people frowned upon. But at that time I was thinking, you know, like this can be the future, you know, like of gaming or sports in general. And I saw that, but it wasn't really the reason why I stuck with it. You know, it was just like an opportunity came knocking on my door, and so I kind of grabbed it. But the main reason for me was because I loved what I'm doing, and it didn't feel to me like I was working at all. And so I stuck with it because I believed in the industry, not because of, you know, like this can grow and I can get rich someday. You know, like it was never about that.
And then, so from writing to business development, and you were talking about, you know, building relationships in different companies and tournament organizers in Southeast Asia. But what is business development for maybe the viewers that may not know much about it? So,
for MogulGG, business development is sort of finding opportunities to work with multiple, you know, like multiple types of businesses that, you know, like can potentially lead into revenue. You know, like it's a way to think about how do we make the industry sustainable for ourselves. Like, what exactly can we do on Mogul that would make it you know, like that would make a difference. And so that's sort of the main motivator of it all. You know, like it's finding opportunities, may it be connecting with tournament organizers, or connecting with game publishers, or connecting with various brands that want to tap into like the esports market. And so there's really like a lot of sort of avenues in esports that people haven't yet explored. And so we want to really understand what the market is for esports, and then hopefully we can, you know, like get a business model where everyone is sort of benefiting from it.
So far in Southeast Asia, what do you feel about the potential of like the market of esports here in maybe at least if you want to tone it down, maybe just in the Philippines? What do you think of the esports scene here?
So Filipinos, like I know it's always been said, like when we talk about the Filipino gaming community, they're very passionate. They love gaming, they love esports, and so everybody knows that already. And so I think there's definitely a lot of potential for this for the Filipino community, or particularly the Filipino esports community, to grow even bigger. But I think a lot of that lies in like the multiple organizations or the multiple businesses that are in the space, because they need to take a deeper understanding about what their market is and how exactly do they can they make that grow. There's still, like, I feel like we've come a long way since I started in esports, like from the humble beginnings where people would play in like computer cafes and you would have like small time tournaments on various like cities that you would go to and compete in. So I think we've certainly come a long way from that, and so I'm definitely like super excited to see what it's gonna look like, like years from now, maybe 5 to 10 years. It's definitely going to be better, and that's because like me being in this scene, I had an opportunity to talk to like different organizers and companies that are invested in the space, and so in conversations with them, I know that like there's definitely not just passion, like passion is kind of overrated in this space, but like there's a lot of like drive, there's a lot of like a desire for the esports scene to actually become something, like not just like your regular hobby, or not just something that, oh, there's money in esports, let me get into it. It's not just that. And so really excited.
So you said MogulGG or Mogul Arena before. I'm guessing because it was called Mogul Arena, Valorant wasn't out yet. So when was MogulGG actually released? Or up?
I would say about 5 years ago. Like like we started out running first party tournament content, and it's not just one game. We had multiple titles going on at that time. We had what we called like quick ups, daily single elimination tournaments. We had like cash prizes. We had VIP subscriptions. So there was a lot in like that you can do in the Mogul platform. There was even a time where you can vote for the winning team in a specific tournament. So we would have like voting, and then we would provide like incentives for it. And so about 5 years ago, the company started out like that. So it was like a platform,
Yeah. What was the biggest game at that time that you guys were hosting or managing?
Well, we had CSGO was big for a while, and then Dota 2. Those are the two, like top games at that time. We had 5v5s, we had 1v1s. So there was a lot of tournament activity, but it was right around that time when Fortnite started, and then there was like Apex. So there's a lot of like FPS game titles.
And then throughout the years, then 2020 hit, the pandemic happened, and what were the challenges that you faced pre-pandemic and then post-pandemic? How did the pandemic affect your work, or how did it affect MogulGG in their direction?
Oh man, like obviously there was a lot that went on, with the COVID. When the pandemic hit, everyone was kind of thinking about their future. We didn't know what was going to happen, how long it's going to be. We're going to be quarantined for, and so we needed to like think about how we were running tournaments. At that time, we were still charging, like a subscription for VIP members, and we were also running tournaments with tournament organizers, and they were running subscriptions on their tournaments. And so when the pandemic hit, for us, it didn't feel right that we were charging players at that time when, obviously money wasn't, guaranteed. You don't know, there's no stability, and there's no assurance that you're going to get, your future is going to be settled, you have enough savings for tomorrow. And so we had to make a decision, and we had to make it fast. Like we said, like everyone's staying home. This could be like a really good opportunity to show gamers that as a business, like we care about them. And so we made that announcement right around like March or April, around the time when like the pandemic hit. And we said, like the subscription, we're not going to do that. Just enjoy your tournaments. Like we turned into like a free to play model. And then when organizers started coming to us wanting to run their own tournaments, we opened our doors and we said, look, we feel like we're still in our beta stages, like we're not really open to the public yet. But if you want to run your own tournaments, like let us help you by sharing with you access to our tools. So organizers at that time, they could run their own events, they can manage their own events, and with Mogul being a tournament platform, it was much easier for them to create an event with, let's say, hundreds of players coming into it, as opposed to like before, like we would have like a bracketing platform that you would have to input all of the players in, and it was very tedious at that time. But also, like for us, we sort of replicated the whole tournament experience. Like we would cover everything from registration to like match scoring, and then brackets, and all the way to the end where you award prizes to the winners. So even though you're at home, even though you're not at a live event competing, it actually replicated that experience, because you needed to like register as a team, you need to create your teams, and then you communicate as a team, and then fight your opponent, submit your score. So it even though it was pandemic, like it certainly didn't feel like it, especially when you talk about like an actual esports tournament on Mogul.
So it's just like an assumption or deduction. So if I was like someone who's not really experienced with tournament organizing, and maybe I just reached Twitch partner, and then I want to give back to my community by hosting a tournament, I could technically like reach out to MogulGG. Hey, I need help in a way to make a tournament. Is that what your platform is trying to kind of do, like for lost tournament organizers that don't really know how the system works?
I mean, the platform pretty much speaks for itself. Like we covered the tournaments from end to end, and so it's pretty intuitive for an organizer to come in, create a tournament. We would have, a tournament creation wizard, and all they need to do is input, like certain things, like what's the title of your tournament, how many participants, like what game title. So it doesn't really take a lot to learn how to use the platform. But then once you're done setting it up, you're left with like a tournament page that you can share with your participants, and then they can come in, they can register with a click of a button. If it's a team-based game, like you create your own teams, and you have this whole like social element where you get to pimp up your profile, you get to show off your like team badge, or you get to like show off your team's achievements, like how many tournaments have you won on Mogul at least. And like that's one of the fun things about it. So to me, like it's more than just, hey, here's access to our tools. It's like really going out of our way to make sure that we listen to their feedback and say, okay, how well do they like the platform? What can we do to improve the existing tools? And so a lot that has changed on Mogul through the years has to do with the feedback that we've been getting from the organizers that we've worked with.
Since there's like a social aspect, because I don't know if it's MogulGG where you can kind of see like your team's win-loss percentage.
Yes. So that's the one.
Do you think this is like a good place as well for like coaches or like aspiring, not organizers, owners of like esports organizations who want to build a team? You think like MogulGG might also be a good place to like scout these players because there is that function, or
I think in a way, yes. You know, like we have a lot of Valorant tournaments already set up on Mogul. We work with different communities and organizers, and so we've been seeing a lot of like amateur, semi-pro to professional teams that are already on Mogul. So it like for Valorant, we know that. Like we see the same bunch of teams, we see the same groups of players getting into the tournaments, and that's exciting to us because you see their profiles and you see that they're stocking up on wins, and you see like their stats in there, and that kind of feels to me where there's an opportunity for coaches to come in and see, okay, how well are we doing against all the other teams, and you get either tournaments or you get scrimmages, and there's a lot that you can do within the space, but at the same time, your activity in there gets tracked, and so you know that it's not just okay, let's get a turn, or let's get a match going, but then have no way of like kind of recording it. So yeah.
So and then I just wanted to move to how, because Riot has been planning to has been. One of their things is to make Valorant like a global esport, and I think with the pandemic, it really opened up some doors here in the Philippines. Are there any big or any future plans for MogulGG in terms of Southeast Asia? For what are some maybe big things on the pipeline that you can share, of course?
We're always trying, like we're always looking to work with different organizers or brands, and I can't really disclose anything specific, but there's definitely a lot of things planned, like not just on the grassroots level, but on the professional landscape as well. Like we have a really good relationship with Riot, like we have good relationships with various community organizers in the Philippines specifically. So for us, like our channels are open, our platform is open for anybody who wants to like step up or level up their tournament experience, and like that's something that we're always more than happy to accommodate on Mogul.
So have you been usually working with Southeast Asia, or you also sometimes delve into like the MogulGG of like NA or any other region?
Well, I work in global biz dev, and so I get to talk to like different types of people from all over the world. I would say though that a lot, like majority of our market on Mogul right now is from Southeast Asia, but just pretty recently we've started working with multinational brands. Like Kellogg's being one of them. We hosted a tournament for them early this year, and then we also have something planned with Walmart, and there's also like things like Monster Energy being a part of that. So there's definitely a lot of interest, not just in the Southeast Asian market, but also in the rest of the world. There's such a big demand for brands to get into the esports space. They want to really look into that market more and see how they can tap into it. And so I think more than just promoting these companies, and more than just like, hey, sponsor an event, there's a lot more that can be done, and that's what we're trying to figure out at the moment. Mogul, because of the pandemic, we've had to think about different ways to make a sustainable business model, and so one of the things that we saw was the demand from these brands to get into that to the esports scene.
And just a personal point of view, just your point of view, what do you think is needed by what needs to be done here in the Philippines for the esports scene to grow? Because everyone thinks it's just more tournaments, you just need more players. Are there other things you think that organizations need to do, players need to do, or even content creators need to do?
Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and I think that's okay. I think the main important thing for everyone in the Philippines, like into esports, is really doing things that would uplift the market, like that would uplift their community. And so there's various ways to do that, but like for me personally, I feel like just really taking the time to understand the community better, and really listening to what the demand is. That can go a long way. It's not just about creating a business where, okay, you're making money in esports, and I've said this a while ago as well, like while there's a lot of potential in the esports market, there's also a lot of potential for it to be exploited somehow. So I feel like the community is the most important thing, and so like everyone getting into that space really needs to pay attention.
And one of the first thing I was thinking of when you're talking about doing your own thing and for potential brands to come in, what is brand friendly, or what is it that makes, so like Kellogg's, or let's say in the Philippines, Coco Crunch, what makes Coco Crunch want to go and sponsor your team, sponsor your tournament? What kind of appeal or brand should we be showing? Because I think that's one thing that some people might be kind of lost, like, oh, I have an esports team, I need to look for sponsors, but they kind of don't really know how to.
Well, I mean, brands are looking for a way to market their brands. Obviously, like they need to be able to promote their brand, and so when they promote it, it needs to be done the right way. Like you have to have a sense of what that brand is about before you go, hey, sponsor me. Like you have to understand who you're asking for to do it. I think that's when it for me, for Mogul specifically, because we're focused on just the event space and the tournament space. I don't know specifically what they're looking for in like a professional team, but for the events itself, it's being able to understand what the return on their investment is. Like if they're spending into the tournament, like how can they get an ROI? What does success look like to them? And so I think being able to answer that question and being able to come up with a solution for that can go a long way.
And because I was really confused, like, oh, Kellogg's, it's like being marketed.
They sponsored the tournament, like they for Mogul, it's creating like a custom tournament experience that would cater to that demand. Like we ask certain things from brands, like what the success look like to you. Obviously, brands have now heard of esports. They've heard of Riot. They've heard of like Valorant. As a matter of fact, like the Philippines is one of the biggest markets for Valorant, so I've heard. But yeah, like they know what it's about, but they don't really understand what it's about. Like there's a lot of education that needs to be done on their end. And so for a company in esports that are looking to tap into like the brands and getting their interest into the market, they need to first, like be able to think of ways to make it sustainable for brands to want to invest in the scene. It's not just, hey, these brands have money and they can throw it away. Like there's like a lot that you need to understand first before that can happen. And so for us, it's really, okay, we'll create a tournament, but it's not just, okay, get many players into a tournament or have a certain number of viewers. I think it goes beyond that. And so understanding what that specific thing is, I think that's what is going to make that difference.
Has there ever been a brand that was kind of concerned because of like the stereotypes of esports has a kind of toxic viewer base? Has that question been asked to you before from brands?
Yes and no. Obviously there's no controlling how the market reacts. Like for for a community of gamers who see brands investing in the space, what they want is authenticity. You know, like it's not just like what makes the esports scene unique is that there's, you know, like it's not just commercials, or it's not just like a video, like a you know, like a 10-second video clip of this brand promoting their product. You know, they want something more than that, and they want the brands who invest in this space to really connect with them in a way that's just going beyond, you know, selling them something. And so really understanding that connection between gamers and brands, and being able to connect them. For us, it's through tournaments, but like for other esports, you know, like the facets, like there's different ways to do that. But again, it's really finding ways to connect these two together and making it in a way where everyone's sort of happy. You know, like for a brand, hey, we're investing in this space, but in a meaningful way. And then for the gamers, you know, like, hey, I'm enjoying this event, and this was brought to us by that brand. You know, like they really understand what we want. They're really taking the time to get to know us better, and so let us support their product. You know, like there's just like a lot.
Yeah, so like when I think was it Valorant PH tournaments, usually powered by Globe, produced by this, it's presented by Steel Series Prime, so stuff like that. And I think there's some in-game stuff also that happens, because the NBA does something like Red Bull shot of the day, and then I think in like League they have like MasterCard Gold system of League, or the Prime Gaming flawless of the round.
Right.
So I think what brands can do as well isn't just like, hey, 10-second clip. You know, there's other unique ways like integrate into the scene.
Exactly. And you know, like the more that people understand it, you know, like especially in the ones who are within esports companies, the better it's going to be, you know, in the long run. Because what we want in the future is to create like a sustainable community where, you know, like everyone is happy, and where everyone gets to enjoy the games, which is at the root of it all. You know, like at the end of the day, we're all just really we love games, and so that's what the main thing is.
And that for sure the pandemic is not going to be here for 10 years. Hopefully it doesn't. But when the pandemic has died down and LAN tournaments start becoming a thing, do you think LAN is going to take over once again for competition, or is online tournaments here to stay? What's your take on when the pandemic dies down?
I think there's definitely, you know, a hunger for having something live again. You know, like while the online tournaments are good, you know, while it's very enjoyable, especially with the current modernization of, you know, like the internet and having, you know, like a really good connection. There's definitely still a demand from the market to have something where you get to see each other face to face, where you get to be in a venue where there's a lot of other folks who are cheering for their own team, and you watch from the sidelines. You get to meet your professional teams, like your favorite team or your favorite players. So there's definitely a demand for that still, but in 10 years maybe that's going to be possible. But I feel like at the same time, you know, like with the pandemic, it kind of paved the way for the online experience to become better. You know, like for ways to make it to improve on it even more. So I see it as two completely different things. You have on one side, you know, like the online tournament experience where anytime you want, you can play a game, or you can connect with other people, connect with your friends, connect with your team. But on one side, there's also that live element where you get to see each other face to face. And I feel like at the end of it all, you know, like they may be two completely different things, but at the same time, it achieves the same thing. So yeah, like there's definitely differences there.
So for sure, I think in an archipelagic country like Philippines, I feel like online tournament will be here to stay. Because if
Of
you
course.
want top teams, they're kind of spread out, so it's kind of expensive to fly out all the top teams to one venue, one place, just for one tournament, and then you can have 5 major online tournaments happening at the same time.
That's true. That's true. And like there's with the pandemic, there's a lot more tournament activity now, especially with like Valorant. We see a lot of these different organizers running their own thing, and I think that's great. Because each have their own thing. They each have their own, like uniqueness to it, and at the end of the day, you're you're improving on like the like the ecosystem for esports in the Philippines, and so. There's really no competition when it comes to that.
And I think this is my last formal question. Of course, we have to plug the place that you work in. What makes Mogul different than every other online tournament organizing sites? So if it's like Battle Fight, Challenge, there's like a lot. But what makes MogulGG like, I'm a TO, I should go to you?
Well, I mean, not to knock on any of the other platforms. I think there's a lot of different platforms out there, but for Mogul specifically, we have this whole concept of replicating that whole live experience. It's not just the tournament organizers doing the bulk of the work, or it's not just Google Sheets or like Google Forms and then filling that up, and then like whatever happens along the way. Like it's really you get a sense of as a player, you get a sense of becoming more involved in it. Like you'd need to actively register, actively build your community in there. You get to communicate with the other players. We have each tournament would have their own like chat lobbies. But yeah, like anybody who's come to Mogul has like given the feedback that it's a lot better than most of what they see in the market today. And I think that's really one of our main goals. We're very player centric, and so we really take the time to listen to the players' feedback. And so when they get into Mogul, they really get from the tournament page everything that they need to know about that specific tournament. Like you get an overview of your prizes, you get an overview of your rules. You get a chat lobby to communicate, but at the same time, like you really need to show up on your match day and then check in, and then wait for your opponent to check in, and then play your matches. You can submit your score, submit your screenshots. So there's really a lot of player involvement in there, and it's not just like the tournament organizers doing a lot of the work.
So for those that want to check out Mogul.gg and you actually want to join tournaments, usually at the front page, because I tried to do my research a bit, at the front page, you'd see also like different games and if there are any tournament signups going on. So if you're into like League of Legends, you can search there if there's any community tournaments going on. If I recall, Tier 1 has a bunch of stuff. They have community cups weekly, or at least I know that they do have one. Valorant, they concluded their Valorant one a month ago or so. And so if you're like a tier 2 team, or you just want to try your hand at competitive but don't want to step too deep into pro play, Mogul.gg has tournaments where you can try that out, get a group of friends and and sign up in one of the tournaments. And right now it's free discussion, so if there's anyone Twitch chat that have any questions for Larcey regards her experience with esports in Mogul.gg, or Valorant questions, like let me ask, like, what's your favorite agent if you do play Valorant?
Unfortunately, I don't play Valorant, which is kind of bad. But I've been, like looking into Valorant a lot, and I've been looking at like FPS titles specifically. I have really poor vision, and so I get, like. I get
kind of yeah.
But yeah, like Valorant is again, it's one of the biggest titles that we have on Mogul at the moment, and like I had a call with Riot last week, and they said, as it turns out, the Philippines is one of the biggest market for Valorant in the world. You know, like you have the United States at the top, and then you have the Philippines as a close second, and it's really funny because like you see there's the United States is definitely a bigger country compared to the Philippines, but you get a lot more players in the Philippines are really into Valorant at the moment, so that's super exciting.
Actually, I did not know that. I didn't, because they don't release statistics. They don't release statistics of the player base per country. So I didn't know that the Philippines was actually like a close second. And when you said that you didn't play Valorant, I think personally, I've also experienced it where when you're working in esports, that's not a player, a caster, or a coach, you kind of end up not playing the game that you're working on esports.
That's so true. You know, like I played more when I didn't work in esports. Like right now, I don't even have an opportunity to play, and it's like working. You know, like a lot of people think, oh, just because you work in esports, you must be having, you know, you must be living the life. Like you must have like a really good time. But it's really like think of it as just about like any other work environment. You know, like you come in, you have your hours, and you work really hard, and so you know, like even though it is esports, like it's still the same as like other jobs, but it's more fun. You know, I feel like, you know, we Mogul specifically, we have team buildings, virtual escape rooms, we have like, you know, like weekly tournaments featuring like different game titles, and that's like in-house, so there's really it's a fun place to work.
And while if hopefully someone in chat may have questions, but while we're waiting, do you have anyone you want to shout out, any plugs that you may want to to share to the viewers?
Well, I'd like to say, you know, like thank you to the organizers who have, you know, been working with us patiently for years now. You know, like a lot of the organizers in the Philippines that I worked with have been partners for like years now. You know, we have Tier 1 who, you know, still runs weekly tournaments with us, and we have like Channel 8 games, we have Fulcrum Esports, we have Valorant PH, we have all of these like really wonderful communities in the Philippines that are, you know, really great at what they do, and they really care about their community so much, and they want to provide a really great, you know, like tournament experience for them. And so I really just want to put that out there, like just working in partnerships on Mogul has been super interesting because I get to meet people like you know, like people like yourself as well, you know, like who are really doing their own thing in order to like improve the industry and improve the scene in general. And so yeah, I just want to shout out to these organizers.
And I don't think there are questions from chat, but I'd want to share that, like, for anyone that may be interested in esports but don't know where to start, you know, just you can do what Larcey did. You know, if you have a passion for writing or a passion of just really sharing or talking about esports, why not try out blogging? It might, you know, you might think, oh, no one's gonna read my blogs, no one's gonna, you know, click on it, but you never know. So there might be people who are actually into the same thing as you are, and you might get the same, you know, opportunities as well. And also for those in business, your course is business management, if I recall it. Mm-hmm. So business management, there is a way to still work in esports, even if, you know, you think your course has nothing to do with it. I'll just share, like, I'm computer science, but I'm here now in content creation, which is very far from programming. Like, I don't know how to edit or anything, but here I am. So don't think that your course is it's an end to esports. If there's a will, there's kind of a way. And, you know, instead not using the word passion, as Larcey said, you know, that drive. So, you know, to just, you know, make the scene grow, that drive to, you know, if you're passionate about esports, you know, there's a way. So I don't think there is any questions from chat. So once again, I'd like to thank you, Larcey, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good luck on I'm hoping to see what MogulGG has in store, what you have in store for Philippine Valorant esports scene, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so once again, I'd like to thank Larcey and her work in Mogul.gg for boosting esports in this time of online tournaments, especially here in the Philippines, which I'm kind of shocked that we have a really large player base to contend, with the player base of US. So the pandemic got people worried about the state of esports, but I think with the work that we see that Larcey's been doing, there's no problem with the esports space, at least even here in the Philippines. And I think it's what we needed. Yes, there may be ping issues. Do we go Singapore 1, Singapore 2, Hong Kong 1, Hong Kong 2? There may be online delays with production and maybe the lack of thrill from having an audience if you're a player. But without online tournaments, we may have never found the different teams, the different players and talents across the Philippines. That wouldn't be possible if we had major tournament LANs like Zeal Esports in Cebu, or we have SE Atlas in Davao, and the smaller up-and-coming teams like Anonymous Ilonggos. So we're really a spread-out country, and I think online tournaments have kind of paved the way for Philippines talents to really showcase, here we are, it's not just Manila, NCR, the hub of maybe better internet than other regions. So, what do you guys think of LANs when LANs are coming back? Do you think it's overtaking online tournaments, or are online tournaments still the way to go once the pandemic is gone? And if you missed part of today's show, don't worry, we'll be uploading the full VOD over on our YouTube channel. And be sure to follow our different socials as well, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you want to be part of our community as well, we have a Discord. So I'll see you guys in next week's episode of Juan Tap. Bye.